Grand Rising. Just want to give a quick thanks to all the new subscribers, all the new people out there watching the content. I do appreciate you guys. I pretty much wouldn't call you guys subscribers. I pretty much would say family, because you guys are watching me grow and I'm watching you guys grow, through watching and engaging in the content. So I appreciate you guys watching and engaging in the content. So again, if you guys haven't subscribed already though, hit the subscribe button, hit a like, give a like, thumbs up, and drop a comment below. So on this one, I just wanted to pretty much talk, about religion and, because I've been talking about a lot about religion, and I just wanted to, give a, quick little backstory. So I'll call this one, story time. I just would give this a quick little, backstory about how I, pretty much got introduced to religion and, my story with religion and how I'm, where I'm at with it now. But I just want to give a quick little story time about religion and how I got introduced to religion and the concept of a God and all these kind of other things. So, excuse me. So I'll say about 8 or 9. And before 8 or 9, I pretty much, I lived with my mom and dad. I pretty much, didn't have a concept of, religion. I never, had to go to church or any of those kind of things with my parents, at that time. So, they never really introduced me to those kind of things, or the concept of a God or, concept of religion. So, again, I was about 8 or 9. And at that point, that's when my mom had passed away, about 8 or 9. And my dad, obviously, he couldn't take care of me. He was doing his thing and doing what he had to do. We all know what that means. So again, I was about 8 or 9, and that's when, at the time, it was like a legal battle actually between my dad's mom, which is my grandmother, and then my mom's sisters, which are my aunts. So they were in a legal battle for custody for me at the time. And long story short, with that one, obviously my grandma ended up winning the legal battle. So that's when I first got introduced to pretty much like religion and the concepts of all these kind of things. But still, my grandma at about 8 or 9. So again, you can imagine, a little 8 or 9 year old. And again, I've always honestly been a really really curious kid. Honestly, getting into things and just being curious and asking questions, all these kind of things. So you can really imagine that, growing up, in a Christian home or, in a more religious home, sometimes, questions really aren't really, aren't really, you know, I get encouraged, I guess you can say, sometimes. So again, I'm about 8 or 9, and I remember, again, one of the first questions I remember asking my grandmother at the time, was, why? Why, do we have to go to church? Why do we have to do these things? Why? Again, I told you I was a curious kid. So, the typical answers, is what most religious people or Christian people will say, is just answers that they feel are sufficient, you would say. But, most people maybe, I guess, who are curious wouldn't consider, and they would just tell me things like, this is, what we have to do. This is, just the way things are. This is, pretty much how we do things in this house. So, as you see, I was already asking questions from the beginning about this kind of stuff. So, again, I was already kind of like, I don't know. So, again, I was about 8 or 9. And again, I remember, like I said, I don't remember the exact, obviously, date. I do remember it was like a Sunday service, though. The first time I had went to church with my grandma. And again, about 8 or 9. And you can imagine, 8 or 9 year old kid, seeing some of these things for the first time. And me, like I said, being older now, like I said, I know it's just, it was just a bunch of, nonsense, in a way. But imagine, like I said, an 8 or 9 year old kid of mine, seeing some of these things, and I remember the first time, seeing people, with their hands up, People, excuse me, running around the church, people, shouting and, like I said, speaking gibberish and what they would call speaking in tongues, but I know now, and like I said, asking my grandma as an 8, 9 year old, what's going on. Again, that hits you with the, religious and Christian response, this is the Holy Ghost. This is the Holy Ghost running through them. And again, as 8, 9 year old kid, that just never really sat well with me either at that time, like it just never really made sense. So again, at that point, again, I feel like, I always knew again, like this was a whole bunch of, nonsense in a way, like it just never really made sense, but again, I'm not gonna say I wasn't fooled and tricked, into it, because I was, and I fell right for it too. And that's again, you guys, the whole point. Excuse me. That's the whole point of an illusion, and that's the whole point of it. Is it's such a good of a trick that you don't know you're getting tricked. And that's the thing I see now. Again, no excuses on my part. Like no excuses at all. But I see again me being older and me being a grown adult now, like I said, I had just lost my mom. And then before that, I had actually just, lost my mom's, my other grandparents actually at the time. So I see, that's how they get you, is when you're vulnerable. That's how they get you is, through this fear, through these fear and through these mind games, that they like to play and get you. That's how they get you. And again, that's how I, fell right for it. So again, I'm not going to say, like it was forced on me in that kind of sense, but it, like it kind of is. But like you said, once you're older, you understand these kind of things, So again, they prey on the vulnerable. So again, I was vulnerable and it got me again through the fear tactic of, this heaven and hell kind of thing, which knowing now, again, none of that stuff is real. But again, they play the fear through you, and on you is through that. So at that point, like I said, seeing these things for the first time and knowing again that they weren't really real, but again, that's how they get you. It is through that. And once you're older, you see these things, for yourself. So again, if you're just, if you're questioning these things, just always remember, there are people out there too that are questioning too, and the people out there that feel the same way you do. That's the biggest thing I've noticed is, they'll tell you you're crazy. So just remember, you guys, you're not crazy. Remember again that there are people out there who, came to the same conclusions as you and do feel the same way you feel. I feel like that's one of the biggest things as well. Being older. Like I said, I think I was about 16. Well, obviously, when I stopped living with my grandma at the time, and I went to live with my aunt. But like even before that, like I said, I was actually reading this thing, and I feel like that's one of the biggest things that people don't do, honestly, with it. Is actually read it. Actually read the Bible, and actually read the Quran, read these things, and then actually, you'll actually come to different answers because again, they're not going to tell you half these things. When I was actually going to the church with my grandma, and seeing these things, that's what they were telling me is, this is the Holy Ghost, this and that. But I was also noticing, you guys, like, they'll go to church and like I said, they'll read you, a couple verses, like, and that's it. And then you go put some money in the basket and you go home. That's about it. Like, you never actually read the thing cover to cover. So that's the thing I would definitely suggest to most people, who are actually, questioning or just doing these things or actually still believing, is like, just actually read this thing. Like, read it from cover to cover, and then you'll probably come up with, a better conclusion than just reading a couple verses Sunday, going home, saying some prayers, and then that's it. So again, that was just, like I said, a quick little backstory of, again, how I got introduced to it pretty much where I'm at now. Like I said, there was a whole bunch of little, things in between there. So again, I'll probably be making more videos, of stories like that or in between. But again, this was just a quick little story time to, like I say, introduce you guys to it and pretty much how I got introduced to it and where I'm at now. But again, that's the biggest thing, you guys. If you guys are really just, like I said, questioning, asking things, just remember to, always question. Don't never not question, because again, that's one of the things they want you to not do is question things. So just remember, there are people out there who are questioning too, and remember, you're not alone. So again, until next time, guys, peace.